From day one of your chess journey, you've been told the same thing. Control the center. You have to fight for e4 and d4. It's the only way to get a good position. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful ways to play for a win is to completely ignore that advice? Well, sort of. Today, I'm showing you a chess opening that challenges the core principles, giving you a flexible, surprising, and incredibly powerful position from the very first move. This is a weapon that world champions from Garry Kasparov all the way to Magnus Carlsen have used to score decisive victories. Say hello to our rule-breaking weapon, the English opening, which kicks off with the move pawn to c4. Forget pushing a pawn into the center. With c4, we immediately start fighting for the center from the flank, staking a huge claim on a crucial d5 square. This is a hyper-modern opening, and its real power is in its chameleon-like flexibility. The English isn't just one opening. It's a whole strategic concept. Depending on what your opponent does, you can steer the game into a Queen's Gambit, a Reversed Sicilian, or King's Indian setup, often into a version of the opening that you know way better than they do. And don't think for a second this is some cheap, unsound gimmick. The English opening is a top-tier system that lets you sidestep many of your opponent's pet lines and heavy theory responses to d4. Today, I'm giving you a simple, powerful repertoire to get started with this awesome opening. Okay, one of the most common and logical replies to the English is pawn to e5. This is called the Reversed Sicilian because the pawn structure is like a Sicilian defense, but with the colors flipped. And crucially, you have an extra move. This extra tempo is a massive advantage, and we're going to milk it for all it's worth. Here's our game plan, and it's brutally effective. We play knight to c3. This is a key move. We develop a piece and clamp down even harder on the d5 square. The most frequent reply is knight to c6, where black just copies us. Now we unveil our setup with pawn to g3. This prepares to fianchetto our light-squared bishop to g2, where it's going to become an absolute monster slicing across the long diagonal. Let's say black plays the natural knight to f6. We just carry on with our plan. Bishop to g2. Our bishop now stares down the entire a8 to h1 diagonal. A typical move here is bishop to c5, developing their bishop to an active square. But we have a subtle, killer plan. We play pawn to e3. This move looks quiet, but it's a strategic gem. It prepares to kick the black bishop with the move d4, winning time, while also shutting down the bishop's influence. Our follow-up is simple. We'll play knight g to e2, castle, and then strike in the center with d4. The position is technically balanced, but white's long-term pressure is just so much easier to play. Now, before we get to our plan against the annoying symmetrical setup, I have to show you a deadly trap in this exact line that can win you the game on the spot. But first, if you're enjoying this rule-breaking strategy and want to add more weapons to your chess arsenal, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. All right, back to the trap. After c4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, g3, knight c6, and bishop g2, what if your opponent gets clever and plays bishop to b4? This looks annoying attacking our knight. In reality, it's a positional mistake. We play knight to d5, immediately attacking their bishop. If black trades with knight takes d5, we recapture c takes d5, attacking their knight. After the tricky-looking knight to d4, we calmly play pawn to e3. And now, that knight is in a world of hurt. It looks like it has two safe squares, b5 or f5, but either way it tries to retreat, we create a fork with the queen, winning a piece. This little trick catches tons of players off guard. So what happens when your opponent decides to copycat you with c5? This is symmetrical English. It can get pretty drawish if you're not careful, but don't worry, we've got a plan to break the symmetry and play for the win. Our follow-up move is knight to f3. We develop a knight and keep our options flexible. Black will often just keep mirroring us with knight to f6. We play knight to c3, and if they play knight to c6, we've reached the 4 knights. Now, it's time to be the one who breaks the pattern. Our move is pawn to d4. Boom. With d4, we are the first to create tension in the center, and we challenge black to react. By far the most common reply is c takes d4, and we simply recapture. From this position, white has a small but nagging space advantage. Common continuation is black trying to fianchetto their own bishop with pawn to g6. We can respond with pawn to e4, setting up a powerful pawn center known as the Marcosi bind, which clamps down on black's position. Or we can just continue with our fianchetto with pawn to g3 and bishop to g2, leading to a complex strategic fight, where our first move initiative gives us the edge. The main takeaway here is, by being the first to play d4, we seize control and make black play our game. One of the biggest selling points of the English is how it dodges black's pet defenses to d4. The most popular move against c4 is knight to f6. This is a flexible move that could lead to a King's Indian, a Grunfeld, a Slav, or a Queen's Gambit decline setup. Our universal system against all three is beautifully simple. We're aiming for the Botvinnik System. This means creating a rock-solid pawn structure with c4, d3, and e4, controlling the center while our bishop sits powerfully on g2. Let's see how it works. Against a Slav-type setup, the game might go c4, knight to f6, knight to c3, pawn to c6. Black is getting ready to play d5. We just continue with g3 and d5. Now, instead of falling into the mainline Slav, we play c takes d5. C takes d5, and then bishop to g2. We'll calmly follow up with a move like e3, knight to f3, and castling, creating our desired solid structure before deciding on our central pawn breaks. What about the King's Indian setup? After c4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, g3, bishop g7, and bishop g2, and castles, black has their typical King's Indian defense setup. Here, we can play the signature move, e4. This move clamps down hard on the d5 square and paves the way for our famous Botvinnik pawn triangle. Our knights on g1 usually go to e2 instead of f3. This setup is a fortress. It severely restricts black's usual counterplay and gives white very clear plans, whether it's expanding on the queen side or preparing a kingside attack. By focusing on this one structural plan, you don't have to memorize 100 different lines, you just have to understand the ideas behind this one powerful system. So, stop playing by someone else's rules, stop letting your opponent call the shots from move 1. It's time to take control, and the English Opening is your key to unlocking a new level of creativity and strategic depth in your chess. It's a journey into the art of positional chess, where you outsmart your opponent, not just outcalculate them. Here's my challenge to you. Try the English Opening in your next 5 games. Don't even worry about winning or losing. Just focus on the ideas we talked about today, control d5, use the monster bishop on g2, and be the one to break the symmetry. See how your opponents react when you sidestep the expected e4 or d4. Let me know in the comments how it goes. I want to hear about your games and what you think of this opening. And if you want to keep finding new ways to crush it on the chessboard, make sure you're subscribed for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.